Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. You know, folks, as half of damn YouTube last night was watching the interviews, the video interviews. First, let's go to Jennifer Soto, and then later on to Stephan Sterns. They were very interesting. Let me put it that way. I've been saying from day one that Jennifer Soto is involved in this. And if it's just through omission, which is the failure to act when you have the legal obligation to act, that she allowed things to happen to her starting at 9-year-old daughter by this man, Stephan Sterns, who every time you hear him talk, every time you see video of him, he's more and more despicable. But the interviews of Jennifer Soto, the interview with the police, which occurred on March 1st, and I believe it started sometime at around 12:47 p.m. And that's the day we all know that Madeline Soto's body was recovered. But she had so many things to say that just really aren't consistent with a loving and caring mother. She just refused to believe things when actual photographic evidence was shown to her. She just still didn't get it, still didn't understand it, still was trying to protect Stephan Sterns. And we can surmise several things with that. We could surmise that A, she's just as dumb and stupid as perhaps she is. She's super selfish. All she cares about is getting her meds and sleeping and having the most simplified life. But yet, her daughter, Madeline, on things that are important in her life, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe Madeline is a number 8. And very disturbing. Not just even her body language, the answers she gave. I was unaware of some of the things that the detectives had shown her in the time frame they showed her. And now that I know, I want to hear click, click. What is that? That's the handcuffs being applied to Jennifer Soto's wrists. Because the two detectives that interviewed her, the one did most of the talking, and this was on March 1st. So again, that's the day that they discover Madeline's body, right? They find it. And one of the purposes of this interview was with Jennifer Soto because they hadn't found the body yet. They were really asking. They wanted her help. They showed her the pictures of Madeline in the car, dead. Yet Jennifer Soto didn't want to believe that she was dead. She didn't want to believe that Stephan Sterns did this, even after shown some of the horrific photos that we all know that he is being charged for based on what was in his cell phone. Is that inappropriate behavior for a mother? How about calling Stephan Sterns' father, Chris Sterns, after she's viewed these photos, after she's spoken to detectives, telling Chris Sterns, I think you should get Stephan a lawyer? Wouldn't that be the very last thing on the mind of a mother who just discovered these horrific things that happened to her daughter? That potentially her boyfriend / roommate / whatever this guy Stephan Sterns was, murdered her daughter and did so many other horrific things to her. So when we watch this interview, and I'm not going to produce the video of this interview. We can play some of the old interviews because nothing that Jennifer Soto said during any time that she was interviewed made any sense whatsoever. Like she was totally in left field. She was totally inappropriate for the mother of a 13-year-old girl, a girl who just turned 13. She was totally inappropriate by allowing a 13-year-old girl to sleep in the same bed as a 37-year-old man that was her boyfriend. Put that together. Try to think of what that means. What the hell? How did she allow that? How is that okay? How is that okay in her mind? And then we think of what her mind is. Is she thinking like a mother? Oh, how is she thinking? You know, I told everyone from and I don't want to be an I told you so, but I'm the real popo. I'm the real police, all right? And I love watching these two detectives interview her because they're not pulling any punches. They're not being like soft and kind-hearted. The time to be soft and kind-hearted is over. It was over before March 1st, right? Now they want your help because guess what? We know your daughter was murdered, but we don't have her body yet. So are you going to help us, Jennifer? And then she goes into the crocodile tears. No, there'll be a time for crying. Right now, what we want is your help. We want you to help us come up with where Stephan Sterns may have dumped the body of your daughter. We want your help. Oh, you mean you think she's dead? What do you think we're trying to tell you? Your daughter's dead. And she's not accepting that, even though they gave her all types of evidence. And her instincts are to do what? If you watch the interview, her instincts were to still help Stephan Sterns, the man who we know, based on those photos, we know what occurred, and I won't say it because of YouTube. And we know he murdered your daughter, but yet you're still trying to protect this man. So, folks, you know something? Hold on to your hats. Hold on to your opinions. Hold on to your emotions, because this is a very emotional case. And watching those interviews and me dissecting what those detectives did, you're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch Michael by there.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
You know, in this interview with the detectives, who again pulled no punches, and yeah, you see the little thumbnail up on the screen, the lies told by Jennifer Soto and Stephan Sterns. Why did Jennifer lie? And even in this interview with these two detectives on March 1st, why was she lying? You know, why was Jennifer Soto lying when she knew the horrific things that this man, Stephan Sterns, had done to her daughter? Why was she still trying to protect him? Can anyone answer that? Why was she still trying to protect him? I find that to be extremely egregious, that she is trying still to help Stephan Sterns. It didn't register in her brain what Stephan Sterns had been doing to her daughter, and had been doing to her daughter for years. not days, not months, for years. Evelyn Rodriguez from the chat. Hello, Sergeant. To me, these two are just garbage. She was an unfit mother, weird lady. She helped her boyfriend get rid of her own kid because she didn't care about her, served her up on a silver platter. Evelyn, you know something? I won't argue with you about that. I think the complicity of Jennifer Soto, to me, just makes her an accomplice, makes her an accomplice. And if you watch the interview from March 1st, the video interview, of course, is the first time someone on YouTube put up the video interview. And that is why I believe that, last night, I think 19,000 people were in the chat watching that interview, that videotaped interview, with the two detectives. And I want to mention something also. It is not the job of detectives to get revenge for society. I see many people in the chat were like, why aren't these detectives leaping over the table and slapping the shit out of, Stephan Sterns or Jennifer Soto? Because interview and interrogation is a mind game. You use your mind. You read body language. You use evidence to attempt to get the truth. And the detective's job is to accomplish all of that by soliciting information, soliciting evidence, so that they can build the very, very best case they can for the state. And in this case, there's two cases. The one case of the SA, of course, the 60 felony charges against Stephan Sterns, which will put his ass in prison for the rest of his life. But more importantly is the capital murder case, where we believe that Stephan Sterns murdered a 13-year-old Madeline Soto. And in my mind, and many people on YouTube just still don't get it, Jennifer Soto should be arrested. She should absolutely 100% be charged. And someone asked about the difference between derivative immunity and total immunity. And in this case, Jennifer Soto was given derivative immunity to see what she knew about the case. And it was agreed, it's called a proffer, that anything she said in this interview could not be used against her. It's commonly called queen for a day. So you get that agreement from law enforcement. However, it's not blanket immunity. If the police or the prosecutor find more evidence outside that interview, Jennifer Soto can still be charged. And I hope that occurs, because I cannot believe this is my real cop coming out in me, that someone, the mother of a 13-year-old girl, that allowed this under her roof to go on for 5 years, and decision-making that you can't even call it decision-making. It was decision-making by not making decisions. Dana K45, how is she getting immunity when she is not telling the truth, when that was part of the immunity deal? Why? Dana K, because what she told them in the derivative immunity interview, there was an agreement that she could not be charged. And if you noticed, even in that interview, her attorney was rushing them out, wanted it completed in an hour and a half. And in an interview of that scope, the investigators, the prosecutor, should have gotten a lot more than an hour and a half. Sometimes it takes an hour and a half just to warm up your interviewee. So in essence, Jennifer Soto could have taken over an hour and a half just to warm her up, to get the information from her. But they were limited to that. Now, are they finding more evidence against her above and beyond what they solicited in that interview? Absolutely. She will be charged. That is my opinion. Down the road, she will be charged. There's all these YouTube aficionados acting, she can't be. Please, dude, she can be charged. And I believe she will be charged, and she should be charged. So getting back to the interview with these detectives, they told her absolutely horrific things that had happened to her daughter. And she just didn't respond, in my opinion, in the way that a normal human being responds. If anyone heard that this horror occurred to their child, I think you would be inconsolable. A normal person would be inconsolable, yet it took a while for it to register in her brain. And then when he told her near the end of the interview, he said, Stephan Sterns murdered your daughter. And she said, oh, yeah, I won't believe she's dead until we recover the body. So she was still in denial, even though she was shown photos of Madeline in the car, in the front seat, dead. Even though they told her about Stephan driving around with her dead body. Just, absolutely horrific. This is not what I'm going to show you here. This is not, of course, the interview that was played last night by the podcaster Grizzly. But this is just a sample of how Jennifer Soto responds when she is questioned. This is the interview from February 27th.
Way. Either it's Kansas or...
Oh, so he's never had any, custody or anything of her?
Nothing.
Okay. And has she ever formed a relationship with him where they bonded and talk or anything that, she... I guess I would try to rule out the possibility that she would be trying to go to Texas and see him or meet up with him or...
They're as close as they can be with how limited contact he does have with her. He texts her once in a blue, right? Not as consistent as I would like him to, but
okay.
I don't think she's making her move to go.
Yeah.
She's left her debit card here. All of her money's here. Her cell phone's here.
Is it typical of her to leave her cell phone? Does she normally have it?
She's got ADHD. She's very forgetful. This happened.
Just so you know, the cell phones were left there by design. That was Stephan Sterns' design. So this weasel, this really poor excuse for a man, he knows how to get away with it. When he was trying to get away with it. So what did he do? He left his cell phone behind and he left Madeline's cell phone behind because we believe that Madeline was murdered somewhere in the early morning hours, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. If we listen to the roommate, Angelique said she heard loud noises coming from that room at 2:30 in the morning. Is that the time he unalived, as you guys would say on YouTube? I never heard that term before in my homicide career. Is that the time that he unalived Madeline? Now, that's when the loud noises came from guest room number 4. Guest room number 4, right? That's when the sounds came from that horrific room, right? The other question, and Jennifer Soto asked this of the detectives. How was he able to carry Maddie's dead body out to his car without anyone seeing? Wow. You're asking that. And she referred to it as the body. She had already dehumanized her daughter Madeline. It wasn't real. How did he carry the body outside? And knowing all those facts, the detectives kept asking her, because sometimes people feed you stuff. It's a Freudian slip, and they're actually telling you what they know. But she's hypothesizing at this point. The detective was like, well, how do you think he killed her? And she actually said, this was in the interview. If you want to watch that interview, rewatch it. I think he probably strangled her. Could you imagine saying that in an interview about your daughter, that my boyfriend probably strangled her? So I ask you guys, does that mean that she knows? Because guess what the medical examiner's cause of death? It was strangulation. So did Jennifer Soto in fact know that? Or is she just guessing that? Is she guessing that that's how Stephan Sterns murdered her little daughter, Madeline? Is that? Or does she absolutely know it? Those are some of the questions I want you to think of. And many people, when they watch these detectives, watch them at work, it's the cerebral way to interview and interrogation. And the one detective was pulling no punches. He was telling Jennifer Soto, you know a lot more than you're telling. I do not. You know, she's crying, the crocodile tears, as I call them, you know. He goes, I cannot believe, and this is coming from the interview, and it's not verbatim, obviously, I'm not, but he said, I cannot believe that this was going on for, we think, more than 5 years, and you knew nothing about it. You knew absolutely nothing about it. And then she goes into crocodile tears again. How did you know nothing about it? Well, I really don't question Stephan. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Kay Bay from the chat, she's disgusting. Even when they showed her this the Yes video, she still wanted to get him a lawyer. What mother does that? Kay Bay, I brought that up before. You're 100% correct. Banks from the chat, good afternoon, y'all. I'm a little late. That's okay. Better late than never, right? Juan Pagan, she's guilty at least for neglect that led to Maddie's death. Juan, endangering the welfare of a minor. Failure to protect your children through omission, but through not acting, right? Allowing this dirtbag to live with them in a house and not doing the motherly duties by foreseeing what the hell was going on here. Anders Gustafson, it was good that the detective pressed here on trying to get a lawyer to Stephan. Yes, Anders Gustafson, he put it to her. He said, you know, some of the action, the detective talking to Jennifer and questioning her. And let's put this in context. This interview took place on March 1st. That is the day that they found Madeline's body. And I believe I have the time written down. Maddie's body was found at 4:30 p.m. And we know all the things leading up to that. The story of the flat tire, right? And then when they put it out there on media, did anyone see a man fitting this description changing a flat tire in this vicinity? And guess what? Boom. They get a witness. The witness identifies Stephan Sterns, the car, and all that. That's where they started their search for the body. And lo and behold, bingo, they found the body, right? But don't you remember very early on in this investigation, Chief Mena from the Orange County Sheriff's Office put it out there that we believe that Madeline was already dead when she left the complex that day that was on the 26th, because they had video of her in the car, not moving, looking like she was dead. So that was put out there very early. And I told everyone, look, in homicide investigation, the first suspects that you look at are always the family or the people that live around this little missing girl, 13-year-old Madeline. Victimology, we do the study of the victim. Who does she live with? Well, she lives with her mother, Jennifer, and she lives with this big dirtbag named Stephan Sterns, and there's two other roommates. So right away, who do they focus on but Stephan Sterns, and they start questioning Stephan Sterns. And of course, at first, he's very cooperative because he thinks that he's smarter than the police, and he'll be able to withstand an interrogation. He'll be able to answer their questions, you know. And when he can't answer their questions, he goes to plan B. I guess I'm not a morning person. I guess I was so messed up on my anti-anxiety meds. You know, that's his game. That's his next stop he goes to when he can't stand the questioning, or he doesn't know the answers, where he simply just lies, you know. But the other problem with that was, of course, why was Jennifer Soto lying, right? Why was she lying? Yeah, you see the thumbnail on the screen. Police interview and arrest of Stephan Sterns analyzed. We didn't get to that yet. We're still on Jennifer. Is she complicit? I'm going to throw that out to you guys. I'll tell you what my answer is. Yes, she is complicit. Her behavior is not believable for that of a loving mother. Her behavior is not believable for someone that was not involved. Is she smart enough? She's got an attorney now, right? Is she smart enough to tell the lies that'll keep her out of the mix? I don't think so. I'm going to play a little more of her interview. We don't have the interview because it was someone else's property, but here we go.
Happens often.
Oh, so she frequently forgets her things?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as her mental diagnosis, she's diagnosed with ADHD. How long has she had ADHD?
Since she was like 5, 6. They also diagnosed her at the same time with autism. So she's had an autism diagnosis for a few years now. I reassessed her recently. They told me she had some autistic traits, but they weren't sure if she was autistic. So
I mean, do you ever notice her mental capacity impacting her ability to, I guess, be around other kids or function normally?
I would say sometimes, because she acts... I'm not sure. Sometimes she'll make some decisions that I'm just like, where did that come from? Like,
I mean, is that like, would that be a result of a mental disability, or would that be like a result of her being... I mean, does she... I guess, like, basic questions I always kind of ask her. Can she feed herself without assistance? Does she shower and bathe without assistance? I mean, she has a phone, so she can text and talk to people. She has friends at school. Gotcha. And has she ever complained about school?
You know, I think that, and when we watch again, this is going back to another interview, and this was of February 27th, and the interview that was shown last night all over YouTube by Grizzly, and 19,000 people were watching it live, was her interview on the 29th. And I think the police interviewers, the detectives had it with her bullshit. And the one detective was just going at her, you know, letting her know, you know, the way you react to this is very inappropriate. The way you reacted when I showed, I can't say on the air what the photo he showed, a horrific photo from his cell phone involving Madeline, that should have been enough to just have any mother just be like, oh my God. Instead, she calls Chris Sterns and says, you better get him a lawyer. How is that consistent with being a mother? Is that consistent with being a mother, that you saw something horrific happen to your daughter by your boyfriend, and now you're calling his father and saying, oh, you better get Stephan a lawyer? Does that make any sense whatsoever? And you look at the thumbnail on the screen right now. Jennifer knew a lot, but she was hiding it, right? She was hiding everything she knew. And that, to me, doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, because this was her daughter. This was her daughter. So she was hiding information that should have been protecting her daughter, but instead she was not. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime, true crime from a police perspective, you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It's right on the screen. Very easy to do. Give us a thumbs up, hit the like button. And if you want to contribute to us, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels. We also have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels, and you could become a YouTube channel member of the Police Off the Cuff family. Join our family, friends. True crime from a police, popo, that's what they used to call police perspective. And you won't be dissatisfied with this channel. I'm going to play this from WES TV.
Holding on to bombshell information he thinks could eventually get him out of jail.
Yes, Sterns is the man charged with abusing and killing 13-year-old Madeline Soto. West 2's Megan Mulatto joins us now from our Osceola County Bureau. And Megan, this comes after we reviewed recently released documents.
Yeah, the documents released to us by the state attorney's office on Thursday detail a conversation between Sterns and who appear to be his parents. Now, in that conversation, Sterns tell them that he still has, quote, hope for his situation. That makes a professor of forensic studies that we spoke with think that Sterns is holding on to some vital information. The documents show Stephan Sterns telling his family that, quote, there is still perhaps a slim hope for my situation, adding he might be able to come home once this whole nasty business has reached its end. We asked Professor of Forensic Studies at Florida Gulf Coast University, Dr. David Thomas, for his thoughts on that statement. He says hope of coming home could likely mean he's holding on to something that could get him a lesser sentence.
There's no doubt there's information that law enforcement doesn't have. And so whenever he decides to drop that bomb, if there is a legitimate bomb that he's going to drop, this hidden information, then I think that he's hoping that that's going to get him off the hook.
The documents also reveal an email sent to Sterns from his mom with accusations that someone else was, quote, heavily involved in this. His mom is upset that someone else is free, saying, quote, when this is not all your fault. That person's name is not public record. Dr. Thomas says the conversation points to the potential hidden information being about that other person.
I think he's looking for the prime opportunity or the prime time to sit down and maybe have that conversation, maybe try to get offer a deal with the state in order to get the in order to maybe take the death penalty off the table.
For now, Sterns is the only person facing charges in this case. He's facing murder charges in the death of 13-year-old Madeline Soto, as well as 60 other charges involving child sex crimes after police say he abused her for years. His trial is set to begin in mid-October. We're live in our Osceola County Bureau. Megan Mulatto, West 2 News.
So clearly, Stephan Sterns and his parents, we saw some of the emails from jail that he sent to his parents, and sort of like implying that Jennifer Soto was involved. Joanne Blasich from the chat. Hello, Joanne. Great teacher, great math teacher, Joanne Blasich. We need good math teachers. So yes, implying in that, and we all know that, Stephan Sterns, from the chat, Plaza 1000, 35,000 pictures saved on a hard drive in his dad's storage place. Plaza 1000, something, you can't make up a case like this. I've never seen a case in my entire police career that had this much evidence. The evidence in this case is overwhelming. It is absolutely overwhelming, and he will get convicted. Beware Mommy, in her derivative immunity interview, all she did was repeat her same BS. Not only that, but there were questions they wanted to ask, but her attorney said no. If she was innocent, she would have told all. Beer, mommy, I 100% you're preaching to the choir. Thank you for your comments. Now, I know most of you guys that are tuned in today did watch last night's interview. Quite long. The one was like 4 hours long, I believe. And it may have been shortened since then. But we get now to the interview of Stephan Sterns, right? And I believe in this interview, this was the interview when he first got arrested, right? And I don't know if he immediately knew he was under arrest, because they told him at some point, they said, well, they read him Miranda. We all know that, right? That's to question someone that's in custody, you must read and get a proper waiver of Miranda. Miranda is you have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney, all of those things. And the detective presents that, and you're supposed to get the defendant to sign off on that. So he waived his rights and he was willing to talk. And they were trying to get more information from him without letting him know what they already knew at this point. And they knew about these horrible images, 1,700 images on the phone, I believe, of what he had done to Madeline Soto. And in this interview, if you watched Stephan Sterns' body language, and again, because this was a video interview, first of all, he's 37 years old. He legitimately looked like he was about 60. Now, was it because he was in trauma, because he knew that his ass was going to prison for the rest of his life? Was it because he's a drug abuser? Was it because he hadn't slept? Was it a number of things? But he looked horrific, and he kept having his arms folded in front of him. And we all know that that's a sign of deception. It's also a sign of being defensive. You put your arms like that, right? Sign of being defensive, as those that read body language. From the chat, Pauline Robb, JS, Jennifer Soto and Stephan Sterns are both heavy prescription pill addicts and were drugging Maddie. Every other word out of their mouth was my meds, my meds, my meds. Guarantee that's going to be their defense. Pauline, I don't think, they couldn't try that. But Jennifer Soto even made a comment in her interview that, all three of us are the same. And what she meant was they were all drugged up, right? They all had mental health issues. And they all just really sat around and played board games and watched TV. Their life was, none of them worked, or Jennifer just got this part-time job. She hadn't been working in God knows how long. And when she does get a job, she gets fired because maybe she just can't handle a job. So she's on disability, right? So all three of them, we're all like the same. And the detective was, well, what do you mean by that? And then she brought up the meds and how they all just like to hang out and do the same things. And, when they asked her what they like to do, I mean, she mentioned Disney World a bunch of times, or going to Disney World area, because I think that was one of their fondest jobs, even though those jobs pay like zero money and anyone that works there can't survive, except Disney, which overcharges people, right? Banks, he was evil. I think you're right. Charlie from the chat, she's on a free ride. Not it's going to catch up to her. Believe me. I believe that Jennifer Soto is going to be arrested. I think she's going to be arrested after both trials are over for Stephan Sterns, because as we know, and I preach this all the time, is there a statute of limitations? for murder? If you were in my criminal justice class, you should be raising your hand right now. And the answer is, unless someone's going to answer it in the chat, is there a statute of limitations for murder? ATS News, she wins the prize. No, she's right. So they can indict Jennifer Soto for murder a year from now, 2 years from now, once they build the evidence. But right now, they're not charging her. And that, I believe, is strategic. I believe that is being done on purpose by the prosecutor. They can still build the case until they are ready to pull the trigger. And then, and as I said, I think they're going to wait until after Stephan Sterns' trial, So let's get now, we'll go from Jennifer Soto's interview, and we can go back to it later. And if you haven't watched it, I would recommend watching it. It opens up a lot of eyes, even with all the interviews we've heard of her lying, I still don't buy the story about him coming into the bedroom to walk the dog. Like, what? He just killed a little girl, and he's looking to get the hell out of there so he could pretend he's driving her to school. And she said it was like at about 8 o'clock in the morning, but at 7:45, he was throwing Madeline's backpack, her laptop, and the one Croc into the dumpster. That was at 7:45. So he ran back in and to walk the dog. Did he ever walk the dog before? I think that is a total 100% bullshit story that I do not believe. So that part of the interview, ATS News, again, she's lying about the timeline. ATS News, you're 2 for 2 today. You're 100% correct. ATS News, if you could, I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm going to put the email address of Police Off the Cuff. And if you could, I'd like to have you out as a guest on the show in the future. So if you could email me your email to that address, policeoffthecuff1@gmail.com. I would love to, if you guys don't know, ATS News has their own podcast, and I would like to have you on in the future if you'd like to. Anyway, just email me your information to policeoffthecuff1@gmail. So let's get back to Stephan Sterns' interview. So they're sitting around now, these two big burly detectives. And this is where I sort of laugh, because all you guys are like, why doesn't he lean over and slap Stephan Sterns right in the face? Well, I find that amusing because that's not the goal of the police. The police are not supposed to mete out punishment. And if the police did that, Cat H from the chat, yes, second Croc was in Jen's room. And if I hear that joke ever again, we had this joke about Crocs. You wear Crocs and socks. How is that even a joke? That's not even funny. But he said it a million times. Yes, the joke. She wears Crocs and socks. I was like, oh my God, I want to kill this guy, right? Anyway, so he's being interviewed by these detectives, right? And he's not giving them any information. He's really with his arms folded. He's really whiny too. He's like, yes, he's that whole act he goes into, And at some point, the detective breaks it to him very subtly. You didn't factory reset your phone. Do you know that the phone re-upped and re-downloaded all those images that you had on your phone? And we recovered all of them. And he looks at him and all of a sudden he says, should I be talking to an attorney? And the detective said what every good detective would say is like, well, do you think you need an attorney? Do you want to speak to an attorney? Yeah, I think I need an attorney, And then, of course, this whole interview is kicked up to a different level, right? Because now they have to tell Stephan Sterns, well, Stephan, guess what? You're not free to leave. You realize that now, right? Yes, I do. So that's when they broke it to him. He was under arrest, but he was not arrested at that point for the murder of Madeline Soto. He was arrested for all those horrific images on his phone. That was what he was arrested for. And then some very interesting things start to happen, right? And probably not playable for YouTube. I don't know what YouTube will do with that, but they start photographing his body. And many of you may ask, well, why are they doing that? Well, because they're comparing things they saw in these images with scars, marks on his body that they can match up, that they can match up to the photographs they had. And just take it from me, these were very intimate photographs. I don't want to draw a picture of it. The detectives and the department photographer, where that was a detective from the crime scene unit taking pictures of his body. Krista Marie, his hands had a bunch of scratches, absolutely. I believe those were defense. Well, that was as a result of, here I have a picture of it. That was what his left hand looked like. That was probably Madeline fighting back from being strangled from this perpetrator, Stephan Sterns. So now they start photographing Stephan, and his clothes are taken from him. And he's put in a TYC suit. And he has his hands cuffed behind his back with no shirt on. He's in a TYC suit. These are after they took the photographs that they needed to compare. Because when they take this case to trial, what is a good defense attorney going to say? Oh, that's not my client. That's not him. Oh, really? Well, we have pictures of these parts of his anatomy. And we took pictures, and these are the pictures we took on February 29th. And these are the pictures that were on his phone. They match, don't they? It's the same man, isn't it? And then, of course, they did a crime scene at the condo, especially guest room number 4. These are the pictures on his cell phone, these bad photos. And here is guest room number 4. So they match, don't they, counselor? So that is the type of evidentiary material they need to nail this guy for this first case, of course, which can put him in prison for life, right? Can absolutely put him in prison for life. So Wendy Williams, the lifting and moving around of the junk, get the flashlight, kill my soul, blah, wah, wah, wah. Wendy Williams. Yeah, but Wendy, that evidence is so important, even though, we could, of course, make a joke out of it now, but when it's shown, photographic evidence, when it's shown to a jury and it matches, it's so powerful. And the images that apparently were on his phone were horrific. And the detective that interviewed Jennifer Soto didn't use the medical term for oral sex. He used the street term. And I won't say it because, again, I don't know if YouTube likes that. The medical term for oral sex, fellatio, right? He didn't use that term. He used the street term because he wanted to dig into Jennifer Soto. That this is what your 37-year-old boyfriend was doing to your 13-year-old daughter, and even younger, 9-year-old daughter, 10-year-old daughter, 11-year-old daughter. This is what he was doing to her. And you're calling his father and telling him to get him a lawyer? That's not consistent with being a good mother, is it? It's not consistent at all. Wendy Williams, it very much looks like a big old baby man in a tied diaper. Yeah, well, that's a TYC suit, which those TYC suits, we wore them down at Ground Zero because they will protect your body from, well, they're supposed to protect your body. We wore them so we wouldn't get that radioactive dust from the World Trade Center all over our clothing that we would take home with us. So they photographed Stephan Sterns, his whole body. Don't forget, he just lawyered up. He lawyered up, which means they can't ask him any more questions. And they, of course, wanted him to tell them where did you dump Madeline's body? But the amazing, amazing thing is that they figured it out using technology, using license plate readers, using old-fashioned interview and interrogation. They figured out. And then, of course, using the public, putting it out there. If anyone saw this man changing a tire out in the media, and lo and behold, boom, someone calls in, I saw him at XYZ time at this location. Now, the police had a place to go to look for the body, and lo and behold, they found it. This video here is very damning, too, against Jennifer Soto, I feel, because this is early on in the investigation. Look how comforting she is to Stephan Sterns.
This man, Stephan Sterns, for her murder. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty. Sterns is the boyfriend of Maddie's mother. We interviewed them both before law enforcement found the teen's body. Channel 9 Shannon Butler joins us live in studio for this breaking update. And Shannon, sources have told you the mother of Madeline Soto has not broken the law.
That's right. And the interview with Soto takes place on February 27th, about 11:30 p.m., just after her daughter was reported missing. She has a hard time answering some of those questions, but sources tell me nothing so far she has done has been criminal. So at least for now, no charges will be filed. Jennifer Soto appears calm as she tells the Orange County detective the events surrounding her daughter's disappearance. She said at 11 p.m. that Sunday, just after her daughter's 13th birthday, she sent Madeline Soto and Stephan Sterns to bed together.
Is it normal for both of them to sleep in the same room? Sometimes. When I really need a good night's sleep, I will send them upstairs.
Is there anyone in the chat, is there anyone that thinks that's okay? That when I really need a good night's sleep, I'll let them sleep together. Is there anyone? Is there any other mothers out there, any other fathers out there that think that's okay? I mean, that's got to be like a shocking admission right there. You know, right there, red flag. How about a red explosion?
But when also a lot of times we will sleep together in the king size bed, all three of us. Or sometimes Stephan will go upstairs and our bed alone. So it just really depends on what's going on that night with our schedules and what we're doing.
She said they have two roommates and another child that sleeps there sometimes, and that Maddie's bedroom is downstairs in the living room. She told investigators she thought that her daughter was getting ready for school the next morning, but she never actually saw her. She said she got up and went to a doctor's appointment and then got back to the house about 11 a.m.
When you got back, was Stephan here? I'm pretty sure he was, yeah.
What was he doing?
Just sitting in my room at my computer desk on his phone.
Okay. What did you guys do?
We chatted for a little bit. I asked him what had happened because he had called me earlier at 10. Pretty sure he called me around 10:18.
But according to investigators, that wasn't true because Sterns had already been seen driving out of the complex on video with a little girl slumped over in the front seat. Jen said it wasn't until after Madeline Soto did not come out of the school and was told she wasn't actually there all day that she started to worry.
That's when I knew something was truly wrong. And I'm before that email or after that email, but I started panicking and freaking out because she should have been to school. She should have made it.
Jen's answers were hard to come by sometimes.
You know, this whole incident too, and I love to question this. She's found out that she was lying very early on in the investigation. She's lying. But my thing was her daughter's 13-year-old birthday party was on Sunday night. And of course, Jennifer said, "Oh, I was working. I couldn't make it." Okay, that could be true. So you didn't make it to a party. Wouldn't you make it a point in the morning to get up and drive her to school if you missed her birthday party? I find that quite bizarre. I also find it quite bizarre that, they all were allegedly hanging out in her room till 11:30 at night. And, the other bizarre thing also is that Stephan Sterns had been gone since December. So he just comes back on this date, February 26th, and he's back in their lives. And on that day, on that night, he murders on the early morning hours of the 26th of February. He murders Madeline Soto. Now, we all want to know, and a lot of conjecture on YouTube, a lot of conjecture all over, something must have happened. What happened? And many of you, and I don't disagree, but minus the evidence, I can't just say that's the truth, have conjectured perhaps Madeline Soto was pregnant. And would that be a reason for Stephan Sterns to murder her? You bet. You bet it would be. Well, what else could have happened between them? He just got back there. He was gone allegedly since December, right? So what? Is that why he came back? Because he knew she was pregnant? Is that why he came back to murder her? That was his sole purpose? And then it's like her mother, Jennifer, served her up on a silver platter to Stephan Sterns. "Oh, yes, you guys can sleep in guest room number 4. I need a really good night's sleep." I'm not buying it. I am not buying it at all. And Judith Sturgis, but was that technically correct? Neglect, child endangerment. She said that as though none of this is problematic. How in the world do you put your child between you and your grown man boyfriend? Judith Sturgis, 100%. It is correct. It's child neglect. It's endangering the welfare to allow a 13-year-old to sleep in the same bed as a 37-year-old man. That is endangering the welfare of a child. So is it in that realm 100%? Can she be arrested for that? Can she and will she be found complicit in the murder of her daughter? Lost child from the chat. Pregnancy is exactly what I thought. Many have been saying that lost child. I haven't joined the ranks of that. However, I believe it's a possibility, but I don't like to just throw it out there without evidence. And we all know that the medical examiner will not release that because Madeline is or was a minor. And so we would have to wait for the trial to absolutely find that out, if that was in fact what occurred.
Times, and she told investigators she had taken medicine and was a little spacey, but nothing in this interview or any of the other evidence we received has given detectives a reason to charge her. So something else Jen Soto told the investigators, she said that Stephan Sterns did not go with her to pick up Madeline Soto at school because he said he had a flat tire. Now that's true. Well, at least the flat tire part, he changed that tire near the same location where Madeline's body was found. Now, Greg, something important here, that it doesn't mean she'll never be charged. If investigators find something else that would warrant charges, they would do that. But at least right now, this is where we stand.
So many.
So right now, right. So right now she's not being charged. And this was one of the better reporters that I've seen reporting this, because most of them across the board said, oh, she can't be charged. That's not true. If they find independent evidence above and beyond that interview that she had, that derivative immunity, she can still absolutely 100% be charged. So I don't like when people say, oh, she can't be charged. You know, she can be charged. And, you know, when the detectives interviewed her on the 29th, which is the day, the interview, I believe, started at 12:47. It wasn't the 29th. It was on March 1st. That's the day that Madeline Soto's body was found. So the interview of Jennifer Soto started at 12:47 hours. And the detectives, and one in particular, really confronted her, did not pussyfoot around with it. He went right at her like, you've lied. And you care more about Stephan Sterns than you do about your daughter's dead. And then she like went into this, oh, you know. He told her right out, your daughter is dead and you're not believing it. And then he goes into the photos and tells her, and using street language, this is what happened to your daughter. And you call his father up and tell him to get him an attorney. He goes, that doesn't make any sense to me. He goes, I can't rectify that in my mind, that you're a caring, loving mother and you're more worried about the guy who murdered your daughter and was doing all these horrible things to your daughter. That's your concern. And of course, she sees the craziness of her behavior and tries to pull it back. But guess what? It's too late to pull that behavior back. It's too late to pull back what you said occurred. It's too late to now become a mother. You can't become a mother now. You failed. You failed at that job. You allowed your daughter, you didn't find out there was a danger in the household and get rid of it. You kept it there for 5 years. Stephan Sterns was kept there for 5 years, right? So this danger was coming into her life, leaving her life, coming back into her life. Why do you think Madeline Soto did not do well in school? Was it because she wasn't capable? No, because she was traumatized at home from this. And then what was their reaction to this? How did they deal with it? They drugged her up. And all three of them were drugged. And then another thing that Madeline said was that, you know, I thought it was going to be like don't quote me verbatim, but she brought up Woody Allen. Like at some point he would take her from me and leave, like Woody Allen did with Sun Lee, his daughter. And she made that comparison. And that also is a little disconcerting, a little disheartening. But from this very beginning of this investigation, when we watch Jennifer Soto's body language, this is the earliest interview.
Took a walk. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. Drove around and I didn't see anything. I drove back to the school. The school was closed. I emailed one of her teachers. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong.
Have you heard from like any of her friends? Has she been active on any social media?
She hasn't been active on social media. None of her chats, none of her games. We did contact all her friends. None of them had seen her Monday or heard from her. Yeah, there's no update.
And I have to ask this, and I know I hate doing it, but is she the type that would run away? Has this happened in the past or anything? Has she ever threatened to run away?
Never. She's never, ever mentioned anything like this before. And she's not the type to want to do this. She did accidentally leave her phone on Monday, which is kind of normal for her. She's got ADHD and very forgetful. So she left her phone at home, so there's no way to trace her. They tried tracing her school laptop, but that's off, so it's not pinging to anything.
Jen, what is your fear? I know you mentioned she's on games and stuff. Do you think she could have like met somebody and tried to meet up with them?
So this is so early on in the investigation, and in the background is Stephan Sterns just acting like the EDP he is. That's an emotionally disturbed person. That was police lingo in the NYPD. He's an EDP, right? He's back there playing with his fingers, looking around like the dope he is. And they're all conjecturing that she ran away or someone kidnapped her. She was human trafficked. Remember that? Early on in the investigation, Jennifer Soto said, I really think someone took her. Like, where did she get that from? She thought someone took her. Early on in the investigation, yeah, someone did. And he's sitting right behind you right now. Your boyfriend. That's who took her.
She's open to us. She's open with us about, if she's got a crush with anyone. And she told us she had a crush on someone at school. And I looked at their messages. Nothing was weird. I looked at all of her messages, all of her deleted messages. Nothing seemed weird. It didn't seem like she was talking to anyone. So I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like she may have been taken, because this is not like her at all to just disappear and not let us know where she's going or who she's with. Yeah.
What are you getting from law enforcement? Are they actively searching for her? What happens now? Especially that she doesn't have her phone with her.
So as far as I know, they're conducting a search around the school. Behind the school, there's a Shingle Creek. There's a wooded path area that you could walk. It's a hiking path. They are going back there with their canine dogs. They've taken a piece of her clothing to see if they can trace her scent. They're also taking their own vehicles. I'm not sure what type of vehicles, but they're going into the woods to search for her. But I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. We've had,
guys, I just while this is going on, and obviously this is, I think, the same day, the 26th, she sat down with this TV station. The police already are targeting Stephan Sterns. Believe it. They met this clown and they were like, we're not buying his story. So what do they try to do? What do good investigators do? Take a statement from him. Let's get dates, times, places, locations. Okay. Now let's use technology to check where he actually was. So what do they start doing? They start pulling license plate video. They start pulling red light camera video. They start checking his cell phone, GPS on his cell phone. And guess what? They start looking at video right in that complex. What do they see? At 7:30, 7:45, they see Stephan Sterns by a dumpster throwing Madeline's laptop, her backpack, and one white crock into the dumpster. So right there, he's lying. Other time frames, he's seen, he says that he dropped her off from 8:20 to 8:40 in the morning. So how was he walking the dog, at 8:15, right? At 8:19, that shows Stephan Sterns a liar. He's seen driving back into the condominium, right? He's seen driving back in there, and that's on video, right? And guess what he has in his hand that the security guard at the gate sees? I left my clicker. I went back to get my clicker. The clicker was in his hand. He had it with him. So he was lying. So he drives back into the complex with a dead human body belonging to Madeline Soto in the front passenger seat. That's at 8:19. So what about all this dog walking and the leash and all that other stuff? Absolute bullshit. Absolute lying. And good investigation. Get the truth. Now confront this liar with the truth, right? And we all remember one detective, I think his name was Frank Hunt, and Mara, I believe it was, Mara Tadler, the female detective. They were interviewing him and they were talking to him about the vape shop. Remember, he insisted, I was at the vape. I was waiting for the vape shop to open because I needed to get some vape juice, right? So they go, how were you at the vape shop when we have video of your car driving south at 10 o'clock, nowhere near the vape? Well, I'm not a morning person. I'm really not good. I don't know. I'm all messed up on whatever drugs I'm taking, So all of a sudden he starts doing a tap dance. He starts instant lying, right? So right away, who is the suspect in Madeline's disappearance? Who's the suspect in Madeline's murder? You got it, Stephan Sterns. And then when they found all those images on his phone, it's like their prayers were answered. Because guess what? Now we can take our time with the murder. We know he did it, but we got to cross our T's and dot our I's. So Grace Glory 77, in her interview, Jennifer Soto claims Maddie always slept with her, very rarely with Stephan Sterns. Then when she did Jennifer Soto get the chance to take all of those essay pics of Maddie, well, Grace Glory 77, she was lying, of course. Yeah, she's lying about that. You're right. Sherry Lawless, it's sheer negligence that blows my mind. The over-medicating of her daughter. No good mom chooses. Yes, you're right. I can't say that word on YouTube. Sherry Lawless. It also turns Sherry Lawless with your comments. It turns out that Jennifer Soto and Stephan were no longer having an intimate relationship. So their intimate relationship was not occurring anymore. And apparently Stephan Sterns had some weird proclivities. And Ali Tovar, I don't know if it was platonic, but look, so let's get back to, we know, we all watched the interview of Jennifer Soto, which was on video, which was put out there yesterday on Grizzly's podcast. We know that Jennifer Soto was still lying. She's still telling lies, right? But then when we watched the video, it was so nice to see the actual moment where Stephan Sterns was told, you're not free to leave. You realize you're under arrest, right? Yes, I did. Like the little weasel. When that realization came, and he had already asked, I think I need an attorney. Do you think I need? I can't answer that. The detective says, you want an attorney? Yeah, I think I need an attorney. And he knew what he did. He knew this first part of it was the least of his worries. He murdered a 13-year-old girl, right? And he has that. He has that in his mind. He knows he murdered a 13-year-old girl. He doesn't know what the police know. He realizes his lies and his deception did not work. All the lies that he told, they figured out he was lying. To me, one of the most damning pieces of evidence, there's so much evidence in this case, was when he was in the Holiday Inn parking lot. And there's video of him opening the trunk, going to the passenger side, taking Madeline's body out of the passenger seat, front passenger seat, and throwing her in the trunk. And then driving around with her body in the trunk. To me, that says everything you want to know about Stephan Sterns. Tells you everything you would ever want to know about this guy. Death penalty? You bet. I bet you if I took a vote, and I'm not saying some people are morally opposed to the death penalty. If there was ever a case that the person deserves the death penalty, this is one. I want to just take a poll in the chat. If you think Stephan Sterns should receive the death penalty for this case, put a number 1 in the chat. Okay. If you think Stephan Sterns should receive life in prison without parole, put a 2 in the chat. So I'm seeing a lot of 1s. Haven't seen any 2s yet. And Florida, the state of Florida does have the death penalty. So it is on the books. So 1, Diane Ryan, life without parole. Judith Sturgis, 2, life without parole. Anna Lizette, 2, life without parole. Most of you guys, I'd say 90% of you guys are voting for the death penalty here. I think that the prosecutor has indicated his intention of going for the death penalty. So it's overwhelming that the chat has voted for the death penalty for Stephan Sterns. And it seems like the state will go for that penalty. So, folks, again, this is Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. If you're not subscribed, just hit that subscribe button right on the screen. Give us a thumbs up, hit the like button. We need all the likes so that YouTube shares this out. I thought in watching those videos last night on Grizzly's podcast, there was so much interest in it. At one point, I think there was 19,000 people in the chat. So I wanted to watch it. I wanted to explain it. Many people can watch these videos. There's not many people on YouTube. There's a few that can explain what the detectives are doing and why they're doing it and what they have, the evidence they have, and what is their mindset. And I repeated numerous times, this case has so much evidence. It's beyond what they will need to convict this guy. Let me get back a little bit more on this on Jennifer Soto. From early on in the investigation, of course.
People all day on that trail sending us photos to see if anything there looks familiar and like her personal belongings, and nothing is hers. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm just contacting the news to get the word out, to get some help, because I'm desperate. I'm a wreck right now.
So you think that she's been taken against her will?
I do think so, yes.
As a mom, you know, what's your mother's intuition telling you right now?
I'm trying to hope for the best, but I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay, and I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means, I just want her back.
Are you getting any updates from law enforcement? I mean, yes, they're searching that small area, but have they gotten any hits on any scent or anything like that?
They haven't let me know anything. They haven't updated me since I spoke to them this morning. I've contacted them to get some information or to give them some leads, but I've heard nothing back.
And Jen, there's no way that she, just being, you know, a teenager, was like, maybe had a fight with you or an argument with you and was like, you know what, I'm going to go hang out at so-and-so's house and teach her a lesson. You know, could that be a scenario?
I don't believe so. We actually haven't gotten into a fight in like a few weeks, or arguments or anything like that. If anything.
You see how she goes from deep crying to just back to normal, like as if she just turned the page. As if she was never crying, as if she was never upset. I question what I call as crocodile tears, you know.
On Sunday, she celebrated her 13th birthday with my entire family, and she had the best day. She was so happy. She showed us all her gifts. She's just a happy girl, and she showed it on Sunday night when she went to bed. She was so happy. So, you know, she had the best day. I just, you know, there was no moment in that evening from when she got home from the party that she had her phone or had the laptop. She went straight to getting ready and went to bed. So I know she didn't have any conversations with anyone. She didn't make plans with anyone. I didn't see any of that.
So she spent the whole Sunday celebrating her 13th birthday. Was her 13th birthday on that Sunday, or that was just like the time you guys were celebrating?
That was the time we were celebrating. Her birthday was on Thursday, the 22nd. She just turned 13.
But that's just so heartbreaking to be celebrating her 13th birthday, and then the very next day, that's the last you've seen of her.
You know, I'm just trying to give you guys some context. Of course, this was the 26th, the day she went missing. We watched Jennifer Soto back then, and her behavior is inappropriate. I think that's the best word to sort of use for it. She doesn't act the way a normal human being, a normal mother should act when she's told that a 13-year-old daughter is missing. She goes in and out of sadness and back just regular, normal. Like, is that from narcissism? Or is that from trying to protect Stephan Sterns? Why is that? How does she pop back and forth into different behaviors? Why? How does she do that? When we see this evil guy you see on the screen, it's just very difficult to believe that this happened, and that she was an enabler, just as Stephan Sterns, his parents, Chris and Deborah, they're enablers too. They are still supporting him in jail, still sending him money to his commissary. Look, your flesh and blood is your flesh and blood, but if someone in your family did something this horrific, and Chris Sterns believes, he's been shown the evidence, he believes all the charges, he turned in some things on his son. Can we believe Chris Sterns, or is he still trying to protect him? Can we believe Jennifer? That is an enabler. Enabled this guy to do what he did for as long as he did it for. I'm going to play a little bit more of his interview on the 27th and the 28th.
I'm so sorry. I'm giving my best recollections. I'm not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person.
So a lot of the times are best guess.
But we know that you go up Jongyang Parkway down. That's the road you usually take to take her. And then you make a left at that McDonald's, right? Which is the town loop.
You can make a left to get there either at the McDonald's or at town center itself. They both lead to the school.
So if you leave her at, just so you get a sense of direction, Jongyang Parkway goes northbound and southbound. So you're going northbound into Orange County, making a left at the McDonald's, which is the town loop. You said when you did drop her off at that medium, you said it was around 8:20, 8:30-ish, somewhere around that time.
Somewhere in there, yeah. It was early, but not like outrageous.
So we know at 8:19 he's seen going back into the complex. So he's obviously lying. So do the detectives have at their disposal right now these timelines? I don't know the answer to that right now.
Early,
So what would you estimate when you made a left at that McDonald's to be?
After I dropped her off?
No, I'm saying when you dropped her off.
First left by that McDonald's.
Yeah, when you first go, that first left that you make at the McDonald's.
It had to have been around maybe 8, maybe quarter after 8, sometime in there.
Okay.
Sometime between 8 and a quarter after, I think.
All right. So just so it's, you can kind of picture it here on the map. So you're going northbound. You make a left here around like 8:10, 8:15. Let's say 8:15, around there. When you get over here, you make a U-turn, you go back to the McDonald's, but you said that she still doesn't want the
Still
McDonald's.
doesn't want it. She was just going to eat the Danishes that I had given her.
So you're going up here now, still northbound on Jongyang Parkway. You make a left at Town Center this time.
Town Center, then make a right onto, yes.
And then you
the
drop
school
her
road.
off
And
around
then
like
dropped her off around halfway up the road there.
So keep in mind, all of this is still northbound.
Okay.
Right? You're still northbound on Jongyang Parkway. So why is your car seen going southbound at 8:10? I'll show you what location it is.
Now, this is when he's confronted with, the detective is confronting him with the truth that he knows it as. Scientific truth. Why is your car seen going southbound at this time when you say you're at this other location? And we'll see how Stephan answers. He starts to whine a little bit.
McDonald's is over here.
Mm-hmm.
At 8:10, your car is seen going southbound at this intersection. So meaning going toward Kissimmee.
Mm-hmm. I had forgotten something. I had forgotten my gate clicker. I'm sorry. I forgot. I had gone back to the house real quick after we left because I forgot my gate clicker. I actually had to go through the front gate and use my parking pass to grab my clicker. So it was the wrong time. I'm sorry. Like I said, I was guesstimating these times. I'm not a morning person.
Not a morning person.
Okay.
So yes, we've gone out.
How far did you get before you came back down? When you realized you forgot your clicker?
Nearly all the way to the school. And then we turned around. We had,
as I said before, at 8:19 hours, he goes back into the condo complex, and what does he have in his hand? His gate clicker. And that's seen by the security guard, who also sees Madeline in the passenger seat, laying in the passenger seat. He doesn't put two and two together that she's dead. She's not moving. But then Stephan Sterns drives back into the complex, parks the car, and is inside for about 12 minutes. So what was he doing? Was he getting his phone? What was he doing back in the complex at that point?
plenty of time to kill, so it was time to go back. I rushed back, got the clicker, and that's when I came back here this way.
So you guys came back here to get your clicker?
Correct.
So when we look at the cameras in the front, it's going to show you coming back in
Correct.
here with her in the car?
Yes, with her in the passenger seat,
Okay.
yes.
I know it sounds like we're asking you stupid questions, okay? We just want to verify
okay.
the
I'm
times.
sorry I'm not being more help. I'm not a morning person. I was half asleep as it was. I'm trying.
The clickers to get where?
Into our neighborhood.
Okay, and you forgot the clicker where?
I had forgotten the clicker here.
So how did you get in?
I was able to use my parking sticker for them to scan to let me through.
Okay, so could you not have done that after you dropped her off?
I could have, but I also like to come back in from the back gate a lot of the times, and I didn't know if I would be back right away. And sometimes they're busy up front, so it's better not to wait in the line.
What time is security usually there at the front gate?
They were there when I came through. He scanned my ticket.
So would it have not just made more sense to drop her off and come back since security's already there?
I don't know if it made more sense. It's just what I did.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else that we haven't asked you feels important? Maybe that might help us out.
I'm sorry. I'm having trouble recollecting everything.
I'm going to step away for a second.
Anything that you remember maybe she might have told you?
She didn't mention anything in particular. I made a joke about her Crocs. She wears Crocs and socks.
Crocs and socks.
So we were joking about that.
Funny joke.
Would she say she's usually like a happy,
Very,
go lucky girl.
very happy. She brings a lot of joy. She's a very good girl. It definitely doesn't feel the same around here if she's not here.
So just to put this in context, this interview, of course, is on the 28th, which is when they take his phone. He gives them permission to take his phone. He gives them the code to his phone. And that's when they find those horrific images on his phone. But he's not arrested until the next day, which would be the 29th, right? Janet from the chat, thank you for the £9.99 super sticker. Very much appreciated, guys. This is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. My goal today was to look into and sort of break down, without having them played on the screen, the interviews that we watched last night that was on Grizzly's channel, the police interview of Jennifer Soto, which showed us a lot about her and which we saw how she reacted and how the detectives didn't pull any punches whatsoever, went right at her with all the questions he was asking her. And then we saw, again, and this was from March, I believe it was February 29th, the arrest of Stephan Sterns. So he'd been interrogated, he'd been interviewed, but he was being interviewed as a person who was going home. What's the difference? Well, he was being interviewed and interrogated, but they didn't have probable cause yet, did they? So he was being interviewed much lighter, but they solicited a lot of information. And that's what detectives do. They solicit information, and when they solicit information and then they start comparing against real evidence, they start asking themselves, why is he lying about this? Why did he lie about that? Why is he coming up with, I'm not a morning person bullshit? Why did he go back into the complex? And then we find out from the security guard, he had his clicker in his hand. So that was another lie. Why did he say he was at the vape shop when we know his car was driving southbound? This is the nature of investigation. And this is what these detectives did and they did an outstanding job. I'm very impressed with all the detectives that worked on this case because it's such an important case. And they weren't heavy-handed. They did an outstanding, impressive job, both in the interview and the interrogation and the canvassing, the collecting the digital data, the license plate reader information, the canvassing, the collecting video. All of those pieces of evidence are so important. And when we watch those videos of both Jennifer Soto being interviewed and Stephan Sterns being interviewed, we can understand now the context of where it was coming from and what the police had and what the police garnered. And we saw, and I think it was worth the price of admission, we saw Stephan Sterns lawyer up when he was told, we found all these images on your phone and you're not free to go. You're not free to leave. You understand that, right? Then he's like, do I need a lawyer? Do I need a lawyer? I think I need a lawyer. He didn't want to answer any more questions because he's no dummy. Comes across as a dummy sometimes, but he's no dummy. Anyway, folks, I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I hope I explained the best I could without playing those actual videos about what the interviews were about and about what the detectives were thinking and about what they were doing as far as building this case and potentially building a future case against Jennifer Soto. So everyone have a wonderful night. God bless everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Police Off the Cuff. We'll see you next time. One episode.